So I was driving here just now, and right before the Whitestone Bridge, 2 trucks came, closed off, cops and everything. Like I was like 2 cars, but and then everyone started converging on this little area between that the cops left open for cars to go through. I was trying to figure out what was going on. I realized what was going on was that every bus or truck that came, the cops weren't letting on the bridge. But when I came, I was like, "Can I get on the bridge?" They're like, "Yeah." And I love how cops do it. Like, stupid question. Like, I just saw you send someone off, But anyway, they let me go on. And after a while, I chapped that the cars are going on, the buses are going off. Why? Pashut, because if you've been outside the last few hours, you know that it's extraordinarily windy outside. And a car could make it over the Whitestone Bridge without blowing off the bridge. But if it's very, very windy and you have this massive bus, it could get really dangerous. Because as I was driving, I was holding tight onto the wheel. I felt the car moving back and forth. It's very, very windy. And when I was on the bridge, I wasn't so comfortable. I was like, they got the buses off. Like, I don't have a tiny car. I have a Highlander, but it was fine. Anyway, while I'm walking here from my car to the Beis Medrash, and the wind is pushing on me, I thought of a Chazal. Chazal say, I thought it was a good, maybe a mashal. We'll see, Eli, we'll see if you like the mashal. Chazal say, Kol hagadol mechaveroi, yitzrei gadol mimenu. That the bigger a person is, the bigger their Yetzer Hara is. Which is not always an easy thing to understand, because sometimes we see people who are like, come on, they don't have a Yetzer Hara. Bigger Yetzer Hara, they don't have a Yetzer Hara at all. And I don't think it means to say that, the Rabbi Sachs, shows up in yeshiva with the same Yetzer Haras that we have. I just don't think it means that. But this mashal that I experienced this morning, I think is an interesting perspective. If I'm a small person, if I'm driving a small car, so then the wind is not as dangerous as if I'm driving a big truck. Why? Because the bigger I am, the more surface there is for resistance. When I'm a small person, the wind blows, it doesn't move me because I'm a small guy. There's not that much surface for the wind to push. But if you have he likes it. If you have a big bus, there's a lot of surface for the wind to push, and it makes it difficult. So whatever the Yetzer Hara is, but in others, the point is that as we grow, more of ourselves are offensive to the Yetzer Hara. So let's say I didn't used to daven so well. So the Yetzer Hara didn't have to push against me because I wasn't davening so well anyway. We were good, me and the Yetzer Hara. He didn't want me to daven so well, and I didn't daven so well. It was great. Now I learned how to daven better. Now there's resistance. The Yetzer Hara does not want me to do that, and I want to do that. Okay, but that's just a little resistance. But then also, I used to not learn so much. So I didn't. So when it came time to learn, I was checked out. I wasn't. It takes a lot of energy to learn. But as I grew up and as I got healthier, I took it upon myself to learn a little more. So now I'm learning a little more. Now there's more surface area. Now the Yetzer Hara has 2 things he's pushing against. Now I also used to talk badly about other people. I didn't care. I know Lashon Hara. I used to say bad things about other people. But as I got more mature, I realized it was just because of my own insecurity that I needed to put down other people. So when I became more mature, I realized, something, I'm going to take it upon myself to not be that guy. The reason there's an Isser of Lashon Hara is because the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't want to hear me talking about his children in a negative way. I'm going to talk positively about Yidden. Oh my goodness, now there are 3 areas where the Yetzer Hara is feeling resistance. And that's Kol hagadol mechaveroi, yitzrei gadol mimenu, like the Whitestone Bridge on this Monday morning. That was my thought this morning. Okay? Ask him. Michelle, passes? Huh? It's very hard for Michelle to listen to these things because he's heard the yeshivish version. So it's still hard. It's a mushal to life. It's very bothersome, right? Right? Not that guy. Okay. So, the last paragraph on page Tzadi Hey, Perek Yud Tes. After a person is koveya this in his mind, what was he being koveya in his mind? That he's in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he's with Hashem, that Hashem is interested in him, that Hashem is connecting with him. Okay, we said even though his senses are telling him there's no Hashem, but he's learned to appreciate that he's in front of Hashem, he's with Hashem. So the next step, and this was an interesting order. We were a little bit intrigued from the order of the Mesilas Yesharim, that instead of saying, understand how great Hashem is, that's number one. Number two, understand that you're in front of him. The Mesilas Yesharim did not choose that approach. Interesting. Rather, the Mesilas Yesharim chose the approach, understand that you're in front of Hashem. Okay, how does that feel for you? Oh, interesting. Now understand how great that Hashem is. In a way, there's something very powerful about that. It's like realizing that the guy next to you is a superstar. You learn that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you, and now you start to imagine the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Roimimus of Hashem, and you already imagine that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in front of you, and that awareness expands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's greatness with the sense that I'm in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sorech sheyisbaynein al roimemusa yisbarach. Asher hu meroimeim v'nizgav. He's uplifted and like higher. Al kol bracha utehila, on any kind of praise. Al kol minei shleimus shetuchal machshavtenu l'damois ulahavin. The emes is that praising Hashem is futile. It's impossible to praise Hashem. Any maila that we would find in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he not only has b'shleimus, but he created. He owns the maila. He trademarked it. You know, it's his maila. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu's perfection is not really something that's possible for us to be masig. And I want to share with you, the Mesilas Yesharim wrote a sefer that some of you have learned. It's a little bit more, a little bit more philosophically bent, but it's very, 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 very important, fundamental foundation of Emunah, and that's the sefer Derech Hashem. You've seen it? Okay, so the sefer Derech Hashem is a crucial sefer for someone who has real questions about like what we're doing here, why we're here, what does it mean, what's Hashem's relationship with the world. It doesn't give every single answer that we may want in 2025, but it does provide the foundation that now we have what to work with to be able to understand. And it does provide more answers than we realize. You know, it's something that the bigger of a Talmid Chacham that you are, the more you could pull out from that sefer. It's not a sefer to learn just once. The Sefer Derech Hashem describes something about HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he himself says that it's not really possible for a human being to grasp. But it's interesting to hear because it shows us what the Mesilas Yesharim, who's the author of the Derech Hashem, what he means when he says that the milas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu are beyond any kind of description. And that's like this. We have different midos. We have different midos, different parts of us. So we have our compassionate part. We have our truthful part. We have our part that appreciates purity or holiness. We have different parts of ourselves. If we learn to perfect different parts of ourselves, best case scenario, we have multiple positive midos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not that way. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is echad. He's one. One doesn't mean there's one Hashem, there's no body. Okay? It's not something that we can be masig. One means he's one, b'tachlis ha'echad. There's no one that's more one than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not like someone may ask, oh, there's one Hashem, there's one sun, there's one moon, there's a lot of ones, there's one Jupiter, you know. There are a lot of things that are one. No, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is by definition one. He's not one of something. He doesn't have different parts to him. There's one Hashem. So does Hashem have Rachmanis? Hashem is a Rachum. Kel Chanun v'Rachum. Is Hashem Erech Apayim? Yes. Does Hashem do Chesed? Yes. Is Hashem Emes? Yes. Wow, Hashem has all of these multiple midas. Wrong. Hashem has one midah that's the perfection of all of these midas. We don't understand what those words mean. We don't understand how that could be. Our mind is a divided mind. We understand this and this and this and this and this, and collecting all of them together. Now we have this and this and this and this. But that this and this and this and this are not separate things, but they're one midah. It's not a hybrid, it's not a mix, it's not a blend, it is one midah. That the way that we react to that midah is that it's Racham v'Chan and Erech, but it's not different midahs. It's one midah. There's no name for that midah. It's called Hashem.
The name for it is Hashem.
Hu u'ritzayna ichadu. Hashem and His will are one. So when he says that the Hakadosh Baruch Hu is meraymim v'nizgav al kol bracha tehila al kol minei shleimus shetuchal machshavteinu l'damayis ula'avin, we really don't have the capacity to even be masik how perfect Hakadosh Baruch Hu is.
I don't know what I'm about to ask is just going to get exactly what you just said, but speak about Hashem having these names, and each name represents a different midah in a stronger way. Is it just what you just said?
So that's a good question. Yonatan wants to know, so what's the different names of Hashem if it's all one midah? And that's true. That is 100% true. In fact, the names of Hashem were created when the world was created. And what does that mean? What does that mean? What that means is, for example, the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer says that before the world was created, Hayahu u'shmai hagadol levadoi, He and His great name were alone. I'm not going to get into this. A whole complex conversation to have about what it means that He even had a name before the world was created, and does it really mean that? There's a Moreh Nevuchim, there's a Nefesh HaChaim, there's a Radal, there's a lot to talk about. But I want to get to the point of what's exactly what you asked. The Radal, Rav David Luria, who I mentioned in Shir the other day, the Pirush on the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, the Rav David Luria says that what the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer means when he says it was only Hashem and His name, the name that he's referring to is Yud Kei Vav Kei, because that's the name that's behind the Ratzain to create the world. It's the Shem Havaya. Havaya means to bring into existence. The Radal says, Yonatan, that every other name is not the name that brought the world into existence. It's the names that define the midas with which Hashem interacts with the world. What that means is that we don't have a name for Hashem. Hashem. We don't have a name. We call Him the name. We don't have a name. Hashem. We don't have a name for Him because we don't know Hashem. What we know is how He interacts with us. He interacts with us in a way that we recognize as compassion, so we call Him Racham. He interacts with us in a way that we understand as Emes, so we call Him Emes. So all the names of Hashem, you're asking a very good question. If it's one midah, what are we giving separate names that represent different midahs? The answer is we need those names, because we don't know how to interact with that one midah. So we interact specifically with different midahs, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will use different aspects of His midah when He interacts with us. So if Hashem is breaking the mazalos and stepping in and changing nature for us, we'll call Him Shakai, Shin Daled Yud, because He's Shoydei Ma'araches Hashemayim. If Hashem acts with strength and with din, and maybe even with punishment, we'll call Him Elokim. If Hashem acts powerfully but with chesed, we'll call Him Kael, Aleph Lamed. We have different names that will describe the different ways that He interacts with us, but we know that they're not descriptive of Him. Even the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei is not descriptive of Him, but it's descriptive of His Ratzon to create the world. Okay, I think that would...
One name which is like all-encompassing?
No, Dafka not. Because that would say that I have some way to grasp Hashem. We do not know Hashem. when the pasuk tells us to know Hashem, the pasuk says, for example, in Treyasar, Da es Elokei avicha ve'avdehu. Know the God of your father and serve him. So it tells us to know Hashem. Many psukim, it tells us to know Hashem. We understand that we can't know Hashem. We can know Hashem as He introduced Himself to us. We are very fortunate. A little over 33 centuries ago, we heard Hashem introduce Himself. He said in last week's parsha, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, Asher Yitzezicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. How do you do? He introduced Himself to us. That's where our emunah comes from, that pasuk. So we know Him as He introduced Himself to us. That's Da'es Elokei Avicha. If you want to know Hashem, what do you do if you want to know Hashem? How does one get to know Hashem? You learn His Torah. This is how we get to know Hashem. So Baruch Hashem, we're able to roll up our sleeves and get to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu a little bit. But everything that we know is just Hashem vis-a-vis how He interacts with this world. But still, what a schus it is. Imagine that we get to sit down here and we get to know the Creator of the world. It's not something to laugh at. It's pretty mind-boggling that we get to do that. Okay? And everything that we learn is like that. Like I mentioned, those of you that were here Thursday night, some of you were here, those of you that were here Thursday night, I was joking about eggs, but it wasn't such a joke. The whole world can be tumbling about eggs. I just spoke to a board member of a yeshiva yesterday, and he told me that he had to stop serving eggs in his yeshiva. It was just too expensive. And so everyone's tumbling eggs. And it's interesting that we spent, since Elul, what have we been talking about in Shir? We're basically learning about eggs, Yeah, we're learning about eggs, a million different permutations and sugyas about eggs. But when we learn about eggs, we're getting to know an aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's interaction with the world, more than we even realize we're getting to know. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu was so kind to us that He gave us over the ability to touch those unbelievable ideas by saying eggs. You know eggs? You've eaten eggs? Scrambled, an omelet, this, that. You put it into a cake, into this. Eggs. Oh, eggs. Okay, now, if an egg is laid on Yantiv, but really when I say those words, I'm touching, who knows what I'm touching? Who knows what concept I'm touching? In the word Beis Yud Tzadi Hey, Beitza, an egg, who knows what's in there? And we've had the opportunity since Elul to not just learn about eggs. We learned our sugya is the reason Hashem decided to make an egg. Mind-boggling. All right, let's get to it. We're going to do something a little bit different today. For those who are in the share, want to stick around?